It's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me at benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcast because People of Distinction is a nationally and internationally syndicated show because of listeners like you. Our shows are available across all major podcast distributors as well as YouTube. And if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. We appreciate the support. Continue to like and follow and sit back and strap in because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Daniel Spaeth. And we're going to be discussing Daniel's amazing book, From the Streets to the Hamptons, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, all the regular online book resellers. People, head on over there, pick up your copies, and get lost in this amazing book. And while you're at it, make sure to keep in mind, this book is a trilogy. Okay, yeah, I said it. Now, there's a prequel and a sequel, both still in creation, so they're not available for purchase just yet, but you're going to want to check in frequently and get them the moment that they become available. And before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Dan was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best publishers in the business. People you already know. I'm talking about CITI of Books. So if you're a writer out there who has gone through your process and now you need help moving the masterpiece you just created, well, have no fear. Contact CITI of Books. This is exactly what their team specializes in. So you're going to want to head on over to cityofbooks.com today and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Dan here on the line. Now, people, right there in the title, you got an idea of the journey you're getting ready to embark upon. But I promise you, an idea is all you got because this book is layered, all right? It is nuanced. It is a wonderful journey that is going to keep you entertained on a rainy day, but it also has a fantastic message underneath it of strength, of perseverance, and of representation. And listen, as a father myself and as a father to a young, beautiful little princess, I look at the main protagonist in this book and I'm like, yeah, let's get it going, please, because she is so emblematic of so many things. And in a world that we live in that is dominated by the male perspective, it is refreshing to see one that is vastly different from all of that, okay? This is something that I'm going to love talking to Dan about, but you're going to love reading. And by the time we've concluded, because rest assured, we're only going to scratch the surface here today, all right? By the time we've concluded, you're going to run to those places that I've mentioned, pick up your copies, and add it to your shelf, because you're going to be just as intrigued to embark upon the journey yourself. Dan, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, and thank you. It's an honor to be here. It really is.
Dan, listen, man, this is truly a pleasure and a delight to have you here. I'm loving what this book represents, what it symbolizes. The entertainment is just something where we can sit through on a rainy day, and it's going to keep us very well occupied. Well, I want to start first and foremost by learning a little bit more about yourself. So let's start there. Who is Daniel Spaeth?
Well, Benji, I'm 58 years old, and I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I graduated from Massbaum Vocational Technical High School, and I actually took auto shop. After high school, I went immediately into factory work. I met my beautiful wife, Angela, and we had our son, Timothy. But I always had a propensity for storytelling. I always told stories to my friends, my family, but I never actually thought they were good enough, so I never actually wrote anything down. And one day in work, a job offer was brought to my attention. And, of course, it was much more money, but you needed to know how to type. Mm-hmm. And that's something I did not know how to do. So I came right home and went on the computer and decided that I was going to learn how to type. But the exercises and the videos just didn't do it for me. So what I did was I decided if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it something that I like to read. And that's how From the Streets to the Hamptons was born.
Love that. Okay, so listen, I'm starting to piece together the puzzle. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Dan. Well, how did you then become an author?
Actually, I had no idea on being an author. I just started writing this down. And after a while, this was supposed to be a short little story, 8 pages. Then it was going to be 8 chapters. And by the time I got to 20 chapters, I decided to take it down to my beautiful wife and ask her what she thought of it. Mm-hmm. And after about a day, she came back to me and handed it back to me and told me go upstairs and finish it. And I didn't say, I was like, well, is it good? And she'd go upstairs and finish. That was her only thing. And every chapter after that I brought down and I gave it to her. So she is my entire reason for being an author. And the weird thing is the story kind of took on a life of its own. I started with the very first line, "It's almost time." And after that, it was as if I was watching it. I wasn't typing it, I was watching it, and my hands were just moving as I'm watching the movie that is my book. And that's how it was born. That's how everything came about.
People, again, the book is called From the Streets to the Hamptons by Daniel Spaeth. It's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, all the regular online book resellers. Pick up your copies today. Check back in frequently because remember, there are 2 others still on the horizon, a prequel and a sequel to this book that you're going to want to get involved with the moment that they're available as well. Without further ado, Dan, we know about your background. We know a little bit about the inspiration. Well, now let's talk about that book. From the Streets to the Hamptons. Tell us a little bit more about it.
It all started with It's Almost Time. I was just pictured her running down the street. And from there, it just took on. Mm-hmm. It takes place in the Bronx, New York, in the beginning, in the streets part. And Dana is a workaholic. That's all she wants to do. All she wants to do is make enough money to do what she needs to do. I'm not going to ruin it in the book. But she also has a best friend, and her best friend is Amanda. And her best friend, Amanda, is the quintessential best friend. She's the one that makes her go out. She's the one that makes her do things. She's the one that makes everything happen for her. She makes her happy. And one night they were going to go to the nightclub, or they're going to go to work. And then they had to go to the nightclub because they couldn't go to work because they weren't needed. And that's where it all starts. That's where everything either goes right for Dana or wrong, depending on your perspective. Mm-hmm. That's where she doesn't actually meet the love interest yet, but he does meet her. And he follows her. And he's been following her throughout the entire book.
I mean, that's a cliffhanger right there, people. You know, we've already started to go into some of the experiences that you've had throughout this process, but I'd love to explore that a little bit further. Dan, talk to us more about some of those experiences that you had while writing this book.
Well, keep in mind that I was only able to do this on 5 days a week, about an hour, maybe 2 hours a day. And then on my 2 days off, I was only able to actually put maybe 6 hours into it because I had to work.
Yeah, of course.
And my wife, who I love her, she helped me edit every little part of this book. She was amazing to me. And it was just always go up, do this. You're doing great. She was my total support system. So I owe all of this to her, actually.
Dan, your title. Talk to us about that title, why you chose it to be the representation for your book.
Well, actually, the title was the hardest part. Writing the book was relatively easy. I wanted something that would capture the book, something that would capture your attention, something you knew it was different. And it was From the Streets, and it was the Hamptons. That's 2 totally different worlds.
Yeah.
And they have to be brought together to be in this book to make sense. And I think it does. I think it actually captivates everybody's attention. I think they know that this book, just from the title, is going to be something different. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it took so long to come up with.
You know, and then who inspired you not only to embark upon this journey, but more importantly, to become an author, Dan?
Again, my wife, without a doubt. My wife and my friends. I've had a lot of friends. I gave little chapters of the story to a bunch of them and had them go out, and they just said the same thing my wife did. Finish this. It's going to be great. Yeah. You have to finish this. So it was just friends and family. It was friends and family support that just push it over the edge. I was excited when I came home and had to write because I just wanted to write. I wanted to see what happened to her next. Like I said, I didn't write it. Technically, Dana wrote it. I was just following along.
Love that. And who would you say is your intended reader behind this book?
Well, of course, I'd like everybody to read it. but I'd say probably young women. I'd love for them to get into. I love for them to understand that they can't be Dana, nor would they want to be Dana. She's had a lot of hardships, so that's not what you want to be. But you want to take away from that her strength, her ability to just be herself, and her loyalty. She would do anything for a friend, and that's the main meaning behind this book. It doesn't matter who they are, what they do for a living. She is there. She is your friend, and she will do what she has to do to make sure you are okay.
Yeah. Dan, I love the fact that you put that out there and answered it in that way, because that is something that I've recognized instantly the moment we picked up your book, is how important this character is and can be as a representation. Now, like you said, listen, you don't want to examine every aspect. It's not like necessarily this is a role model that you want to be, but there's aspects to her personality and her being, like we've mentioned, right? Her strength, her loyalty that you just brought up, that I think for anyone, right? Male, female, doesn't matter. Those are traits we oftentimes want to represent in ourselves. And this is a fantastic representation of that in a literary form. So this is why I continue to say this is a book that needs to be added to your shelf, because not only is it a great book to read, but the conversations that will ensue around it are wildly important. So I love what you've done here. As we close out, one of those questions, again, where I think it's safe to assume the answer, but you know what happens when you assume, so I'm not going to do that to either one of us here, Dan. What is the main message, or what is a message that you want your readers to take from your book after they've finished reading it?
No matter what happens into your life, be true to yourself. Be who you are always, and never let anybody else try to drag you down.
People, you got it, all right? You know where you got to go. I'm going to say it for you again. His name is Daniel Spaeth. We finished discussing his book, From the Streets to the Hamptons, available through Amazon and Barnes & Noble, Walmart, a whole host of other places. Simply type it into a Google search bar. You're going to be greeted with all of them. Pick up copies of this amazing book, add it to your shelf, and allow it to take you on a fantastic journey. Dan, listen, man, this has been a pleasure. This has been an absolute honor. I thank you for writing this book, and I'm going to thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Oh, the honor is all mine, truly. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything.